Good evening. Welcome to TVB News. Water mains burst has disrupted saltwater supply in Chuen Wan and Tuen Mun. The Water Supplies Department completed urgent repairs in Chuen Wan at 5 p.m. and anticipates flushing supply will resume in Tuen Mun by 6 a.m. next morning. Samantha Lee interviewed some of the affected residents.
At around 8 p.m. on Monday, an underground water pipe with a diameter of 900 millimeters burst outside a petrol station on Yuen Oak Road, Chuen Wan. The pipe supplies flushing water to areas including Chuen Wan and Kwai Chung. Workers rushed to patch things up throughout the morning. Some shopping malls nearby provide fresh water for toilet flushing. This Chuen Wan resident says it was very inconvenient without flushing water, but the attendants were there to keep the washroom clean. After more than 20 hours of repair work, the salt water supply in Chuen Wan gradually resumes. Ng Chung-yu, a Chuen Wan district councillor, notes that several water main bursts have occurred in the district in recent years. He believes it was due to the aging pipes. He points out that nearly half of the households in Chuen Wan were affected by the incident. Describing the situation as undesirable, he adds that Chuen Wan was developed more than 6 decades ago, and many water pipes were showing varying degrees of aging. He thinks the area should not rely on a single flushing water main, but adding more pipes as a backup. The district councillor also suggested that the authorities installed water pipe monitoring devices to identify leaky pipes at an early stage. Meanwhile, another 400-millimeter flushing water pipe burst under the flyover at Pui To Road in Tuen Mun this morning. The road service was dug up where the leakage had formed a small pool. The Water Supplies Department apologized to the public for the inconvenience caused and is pushing to complete the repairs. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Sources indicate that the government has proposed issuing 10,000 ride-hailing permits. The government previously submitted a document to the Legislative Council, noting that there are differing views among various sectors of society on the number of ride-hailing vehicles. Some voices advocate for issuing at least 10,000 vehicle permits, while others believe the number could be higher than 10,000, but not exceed the number of taxis. The government is expected to submit a new document to the Legislative Council later. Sources indicate that authorities have proposed capping the number of ride-hailing permits at 10,000. Meanwhile, the Legislative Council passed the ride-hailing regulation bill last October. After completing subsidiary legislation on the number of licenses and regulatory details, licensed ride-hailing platforms are expected to begin operations as early as the fourth quarter of this year. CLP on Tuesday announces a fuel cost increase to 42.6 cents per unit of electricity starting from June the 1st. The adjustment represents a 5.4% rise from 40.4 cents in May. This is the third fuel adjustment from the energy company since April, and there has been a steady increase. Hong Kong Electric, meanwhile, has said the cost for each electricity unit will become 31.3 cents in June, marking an increase of 20.4% from 26 cents in May. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vows to intensify efforts against Hezbollah in Lebanon. He speaks after the killing of an Israeli soldier by a fiber-optic drone sent by Hezbollah, bringing a total of 11 troops killed since a ceasefire took effect. Netanyahu says on social media that this requires us to increase the blows, to increase the intensity. We will strike them with overwhelming force. Meanwhile, Lebanon's health ministry says the death toll in the latest round of fighting has surpassed 3,000, including women and children. Pope Leo XIV called on Monday for robust regulation of artificial intelligence and for its developers to work for the common good rather than profit. The pontiff issued a manifesto on safeguarding humankind as technology impacts everything from work to war. Pope Leo's first encyclical Magnificat Humanitas has been eagerly waited ever since he announced that he considered AI to be the biggest challenge facing humanity today. The pontiff denounced the culture of power driving the AI race, especially in developing ever more sophisticated methods of remote warfare.
Artificial intelligence needs to be disarmed. The word is strong, I know, but deliberately chosen because this moment needs words capable of attracting attention, awakening consciences, and indicating paths forward for humanity.
He demanded transparency and accountability by AI developers so that the chain of decision-making command in ordering strikes with AI weaponry is always known. The Vatican launch also included remarks by the co-founder of Anthropic, which is currently locked in a legal battle with the Trump administration over access to its AI technology.
I'd like to close with a request. We need more of the world, religious communities, civil society, scholars, governments, and indeed all people of goodwill, to do what His Holiness has done here. To take seriously, to look closely, and to push events in a better direction. We need informed critics who will tell the labs when we are failing. We need moral voices that the incentives cannot bend.
Welcome back. President Xi Jinping urges reaffirming ties and the building of a multipolar world as Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif visited Beijing on Monday. The Chinese leader has called on both sides to advance the action plan to coordinate the construction of major landmark projects and deepen cooperation in various fields. Shehbaz's four-day official visit to China comes on the heels of the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries. He is accompanied by Army Chief Marshal Asim Munir, Islamabad's key negotiator between the US and Iran. She said Beijing prioritizes the development of China-Pakistan relations and its neighborhood diplomacy, no matter how the international situation evolves. In addition to his calls to promote an equal, orderly, multipolar world and an inclusive economic globalization, she commended Pakistan's role in Iran mediation and stressed the necessity to expand bilateral security cooperation to maintain regional peace and stability. The fast-moving Ebola outbreak in remote regions of the Democratic Republic of the Congo has resulted in at least 220 suspected deaths as of Monday, and the World Health Organization is scaling up operations on the ground to reach affected communities. In the country's northwestern province of Ituri, where the first case was detected, respondents say skepticism and lack of understanding still remain among locals, which hampers efforts to contain the epidemic. Red Cross volunteers in Bunia on Monday went door-to-door in a working-class neighborhood to raise public awareness of Ebola. Health worker Vani Burungi said they came to tell the people that the disease is here, as suspected cases near 1,000. The rare Bundibugyo strain responsible for the epidemic is distinct from the more common Zaire strain in that there is no approved vaccine or treatment. Yet, the community's distrust of outside authorities increased the risk of disease transmission. Burungi said they are facing resistance from local residents. Some even want to stone them. She continued, "We fear that because the resistance is strong, people will continue to die, but we're not giving up." The latest epidemic, which the WHO has declared a public health emergency of international concern, was outpacing containment efforts. In recent days, there have been several arson attacks on treatment centers in the troubled east of Congo by those demanding to retrieve the bodies of relatives and friends. A 70-year-old woman described Ebola as something foreign to them and noted the scale of this outbreak has frightened people in Bunia, coupled with various rumors that are circulating. Another resident said he believed the disease is real after he spoke with Red Cross volunteers, stressing protection measures must be put into practice. Meanwhile, funding shortfall and widespread food insecurity in the region are colliding with the infections. The Ituri bureau chief of the World Food Programme told reporters that most agencies on the front lines have had budget cuts, so authorities need to ensure long-term financing is sustainable, while learning how to prioritize in the absence of resources. He further stated, although there are health protocols that suggest people stay in containment areas, if these people do not receive food assistance, they will have to go into the markets, which could infect other people. It's still spring in Western Europe, but the region is experiencing a May heat wave. People are told to take extra care as high pressure traps them under what's described as a heat dome. Winds blowing from the south and the UK duly broke its record on Monday for the hottest temperature recorded in May. May heat waves are rare in the UK, and experts say a lack of rain at this time of the year could cause crops to fail later.
If we think about our crops, our farmers trying to grow those crops, they're really going to be struggling too. They haven't had the water input they need, and this can really be a problem thinking about having that harvest later in the summer. There could be some really big problems with failed harvests.
Residents and tourists sought relief at beaches, parks and search for shade on the bank holiday, with temperature hitting 33.5 degrees Celsius at London's Heathrow Airport. The UK Health Security Agency has issued its first Amber Health Alert of the year, warning of a rise in deaths, particularly among the elderly. And back locally, the Hong Kong Observatory has also issued the first very hot weather warning of the year. An anticyclone aloft is covering the northern part of the South China Sea and the coast of Guangdong, bringing very hot weather. The observatory issued the first very hot weather warning of the year at 7:45 a.m. Temperatures in many districts rose to 33 or 34 degrees. The observatory reminds citizens to replenish fluids in a timely manner and to avoid prolonged exposure to sunlight. It is expected to be generally sunny and persistently very hot over the next 2 or 3 days, with maximum temperatures of 33 degrees. The hospital authority will gradually switch to using special outgoing caller ID numbers starting with 18285 or 18286 from today, with the transition expected to be completed by the end of next month. The government has been heavily promoting awareness of telephone scams. Members of the public, fearing scam calls, may refuse to answer unknown calls, potentially missing genuine emergency calls from hospitals and other critical sources. From today, the Hospital Authority will progressively adopt special caller ID numbers beginning with 18285 or 18286. The numbers will be assigned according to different hospitals. For example, Queen Mary Hospital's number will end with 11. United Christian Hospitals with 32, and so on. The measure is expected to be fully implemented by the end of June. A Hong Kong court on Tuesday sentenced a former police chief inspector to prison for 30 months after the officer accepted a bribe of more than $1.14 million. The sentencing was held at Chung Wan Magistrates Courts in the afternoon. During the material time, Ho Siu Tong was a police chief inspector and stationed at Wan Chai District. In June 2021, a merchant who was involved in an assault case was investigated by the anti-triad squad under Ho's supervision, while the merchant was identified as the assailant by the victim in the assault case. Ho suggested his supervisor preclude the person from prosecution in an attempt to terminate the investigation. ICAC later found that Ho had received cash payments of $500,000 and presents worth of $140,000 from the merchant. Chief Executive John Lee will lead a delegation to Central Asia in June. The trip is seen as an opportunity to open new markets for enterprises and boost regional economic connections. Mimosongai has more on the local company that had already taken the first step to explore a major Central Asian country.
The CEO will visit Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan next month. Both countries have a relatively young population, an average of about 30 years old. Back in 2023, this telecommunication company already spotted a business opportunity in Kazakhstan and established an office there. The company, which will be part of the June delegation, hopes to expand its business into the Central Asia market and will sign a memorandum of understanding with local enterprises during the visit, including providing 5G service to the country. The company says that Central Asian countries are not equipped with submarine cable systems, meaning they need to rely on their neighbors to transmit telecommunication signals. By developing the telecom business in the region, the company says it can further help Hong Kong expand its presence in the world. Other businesses joining the delegation will include private equity funds seeking investment opportunities in Central Asia. Moments 9, TVB News.
The Chief Executive's visit is organised by the Belt and Road Office. Commissioner for Belt and Road, Nicholas Ho, explained in TVB Straight Talk programmes that these countries offer growing opportunities for Hong Kong's businesses.
So when we look at Central Asia, overall it has a population of 80 million people. Kazakhstan accounts for 60% of the GDP of the entire region, with a 20 million population, and their GDP growth last year was 6%. So it's fast-growing, open market. And of course, Kazakhstan has a special place in my heart because it was where the Silk Road Economic Belt was first raised by President Xi, which became the Belt and Road Initiative. Now, Uzbekistan is the most populous country in Central Asia, close to 40 million, right? 38 million people, with 60% of their population under the age of 30. So it's a young, dynamic workforce. And it is also an important hub of the ancient Silk Road. And last year's its GDP growth is more than 7%. So it's also a fast-growing region. That is why I think this delegation going to these two countries can capture a lot of potential opportunities.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.